From the nation's capital, you're watching C-SPAN. Coming up next, a speech by Boris Ельцин, the former first secretary of the Communist Party in Moscow. He spoke on Tuesday at a forum sponsored by Johns Hopkins University to offer his thoughts on the future of democracy in the Soviet Union.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lester Solomon. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning on behalf of the Johns Hopkins University and its Institute for Policy Studies, which I direct. More than 150 years ago, Alex de Tocqueville, who was a great French observer of the American scene, wrote in his celebrated study, Democracy in America, that, I quote, "The science of association, the formation and nurturing of voluntary associations, is the mother science. The progress of all the rest," de Tocqueville argued, "depends on the progress it has made." Our institute at Hopkins has made a special study of the art of association, voluntary associations. And it was because of this special interest that I had the opportunity this past summer to travel to the Soviet Union as part of a delegation that was invited to advise Soviet officials about the revision of Soviet law on associations. And what I learned during this visit was that behind the dramatic political events that we read about in the newspaper, there lies an even more remarkable upsurge of voluntary activity of every imaginable sort: environmental movements, ethnic movements, social movements, and even political movements. In my opinion, it is this activity and the organizations that flow from it that really holds the key to the lasting democratization of the Soviet Union. Our guest this morning is in many respects the symbolic leader of these newly emerging voluntary and political associations and groups in the Soviet Union. And when I had a chance to meet him during my visit this summer, I extended an invitation to him to come to Baltimore, to come to the United States, to learn how such associations function in a great city of neighborhoods, in a nation of joiners, and to have him share with all of you his perspective on the Soviet developments. Let me introduce the mayor of our city, the Honorable Kurt Schmoke, to welcome our guest this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ельцин, it's a pleasure to welcome you on behalf of all the citizens of Baltimore and to welcome you here to the Johns Hopkins University. Like millions of other Americans, we have been following the extraordinary events in the Soviet Union, and in doing so have marveled at the outspoken courage of Boris Ельцин. In the context of the Soviet Union, he is plainly a man who is not trapped by conventional wisdom. He's open to new ideas and has a popular following that would be the envy of any American politician. So our sincere best wishes go out to Mr. Ельцин as he leads the call for greater and political and economic freedom.
Я на всякий случай партийный билет взял с собой, чтобы там его, пока я здесь, не отобрали.
I brought my party card with me so they wouldn't take it away from me while I was in the United States. You wanted to say that one? I brought my party card with me so they wouldn't take it away from me while I'm in the United States.
Clearly, Mr. Ельцin is ready to speak, so let's discard the script. I simply want you to know that I've already extended warm greetings. We've given him a bookmark from the city that reads. I mentioned our sister city programs with Odessa. We have many young people who are over there now. So we are very pleased to welcome him, and we are looking forward to hearing his vision about democracy in the Soviet Union. Thank you all very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for waiting. My name is Stephen Muller. Господин Ельцin, we have a song in this country, we used to have one when I was younger, which goes, you're so vain, you think this is all about you. I was not going to talk about you at all. And even without my notes, I would like to remind you that this is the George Huntington Williams Lecture at the Johns Hopkins University. This is a lecture that we have had for many years. It is an endowed lecture to bring to this university and this community someone with distinction in the public life of the world. Obviously, Mr. Ельцин meets those criteria superbly, and I want to say how particularly pleased we are that there are 5 members of the Williams family in the audience right down in front. We thank them for the endowment and for their presence. And I believe that the old saying is quite true. Boris Ельцин, at this point, needs no further introduction. So with great pleasure, I present this year's Williams Lecturer of the Johns Hopkins University, Господин Boris Ельцin from the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Господин Ельцin.
Программа была рассчитана на 2 недели.
Our program was supposed to last 2 weeks.
Но наш режим и ЦК дали мне с трудом разрешение и визу за несколько часов до вылета, при том, что посольство США дало эту визу за 10 дней только на 1 неделю.
But my government gave me a visa only for 1 week, and they did this with a great deal of soul searching on their part, issuing the visa only a couple of hours before I was due to fly off. And I have to say that the American embassy issued the American visa several weeks ahead of time.
Но тем не менее, в этой программе мимо Балтимора и его университета нельзя было проехать.
Even so, despite these difficulties, I couldn't possibly leave Baltimore out of the schedule.
Можно и исключили 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 штатов и городов и университетов.
We wanted to visit about 5 cities with their universities.
Но не Балтимор.
Initially, Baltimore was not on that list.
У вас очень исторические прекрасные традиции.
Baltimore has very interesting historic traditions.
Вы готовите, хотя в большей степени гуманитариев, но очень широкого профиля.
This university is a university particularly of humanities, I know, but it trains people on a very broad spectrum of humanitarian disciplines.
У вас специалисты знают о нашей стране больше, чем я сам.
Your specialists know more about the USSR than I do myself.
В общем, я не мог не встретиться с вами.
So how could I not come to Baltimore?
Конечно, у меня есть доклад на 3,5 часа.
Now, I have a 3.5-hour speech in my pocket.
Написанный, как и у президента.
It's written out just as President Mueller's speech was.
Но, к сожалению, нам отведен только 1 час.
But they've only given us an hour.